we're all really here. I'm glad to be here today. And our virtual tour really isn't going to take in the whole Campana Center for Ideation and Invention because as I'm giving you this overview, you'll sort of learn about how much we do and how hard it would be to really hone in on all of that. But we decided to look into more of the virtual pieces of it. So the AR, VR, and then the sort of combined mixed media work that Jim is doing and really look at the way the arts and technology intersect and how that relates to the work that you all do here. And I guess we came to that conclusion really because Spike and Henry Lee came out to visit the space, and we walked them through this building. You can see the beautiful building on the left. We walked them through and we showed them our Fab Lab, which is the second fabrication lab in the country after MIT. A Fab Lab is a digitally run makerspace, much like the one at Case. Case ThinkBox is a Fab Lab. It doesn't call themselves that. We have grown, so we have all kinds of great things, and I'll show you that in the next slide a little bit. But the mission really is to do a couple of things, and you can see those. We're really looking to, and the work that I'm mostly engaged in is working with the K-12 makerspace movement and really getting youth involved through hands-on arts-based STEAM education to begin to do the work and to enjoy making and get 21st century skills. But we also are connecting industry and academia, and then really closing the talent gap. So there are a lot of programs within the Campana Center, the education programs that are really geared towards getting young people and other people trained for the new jobs and the new workforce jobs. And all of this information, if you're interested in it, I would say just go into our website and look around because there's lots of great things there. And then we're really looking to keep companies competitive. So lots of companies that need new ideas or want to test out products within this space, they can do that. What you're seeing on the right is just one of our students who's doing some great work in the community, and she had just done a little prototyping thing. One of the projects that we did with some of the students at Lorain County Community College was have them come in and sort of design their own little earbud holder. And so that's her sort of pizza one. So we really let things be open-ended and have our youth and our students really experiment. And it all comes from an arts-based space. So this really sort of are some of the things that you would see if you walked into the Campana Center with the beautiful doors that you saw there. We have a wonderful robotics system that any company can come in and test out new product lines and how to manufacture them, as well as we train students how to do that. On the lower left, that is one of our STEAM students. So we've done work with teens to really get them involved in the makerspace. And I think that those students were actually working with Jim at the time because Jim and Greg both work with me on a lot of projects there. And in the lower right is our AR, is an AR VR cave. And that's some of the other cool things that we're doing. And Greg will be talking to you about. But it's really, the center is for anybody, from a child to a maker to a small business, to an innovator, to an entrepreneur, for an artist, and also for existing businesses to really learn how to utilize new technologies in their work. The other thing that we do a lot, and both Greg and Jim and I work together on working with artists in the community and giving them the opportunity to learn the new technologies and integrate them into their work. Greg Little, who you'll be hearing from in a little bit, started out as a painter and then moved on to working with computers and now is in the AR, VR realm. And one of the magical things about the Campana Center is that we know that when you bring artists into the mix of all of these technologies, magic is what happens. And so that's really what we're concentrating on tonight, is the magic that happens when artists and technologists can come together. We've been doing a lot of work. On the right, you're seeing work by Christy Gray, who is an amazing fiber artist and has delved into doing things with the laser and jewelry and sculpture. So we're finding that the laser cutter is a tool that artists really enjoy using. We've also, on the left, you can see some work by Kathleen Van Meter. We have done a lot with printmaking and the laser cutter and other technologies in the Fab Lab. So that rather than hand cutting into wood or hand cutting into linoleum or even hand cutting into cardboard, the artist can get different sorts of effects when they're using the laser cutter, and can also layer that in with hand cutting. And some of that might be because I'm really enjoying printmaking. So we've had a lot of support for this work from the Ohio Arts Council, and it's a lot of fun. It's an ongoing project. We call it our Future Artist Lab. One of the things that we've requested funding for next year is to take our portable makerspace, which is a Fab Lab, out to art centers in the community and give people hands-on opportunities to actually work with some of the artists that have come into the Fab Lab, as well as some of our staff, and play with these great technologies. So maybe one of the great things that we could motivate you all to do today is to get yourself into a Fab Lab, or get yourself into any of the maker spaces around, or stop by to see us. And we've kind of left it open-ended here on seeing where this might go, and what you might want to do, whether it's everyone coming out, creating a project, or coming in person to see all of the great things that we do. And I'm trying to keep my part short because the other folks here are doing way more interesting work than I am. And they were the people who really captivated Spike and Henry when they came out. The other thing that we've just started to emphasize, and we've been doing it all along, I think that we know from the work in the arts, is that design thinking and the creative process is they're all very similar, but really looking to integrate design thinking into the work that we're doing. And we have been doing it in our work with youth, and we work with kids from camps to 6 and 12-week long programs. But for those of you who aren't really aware of what design thinking is that it really is creative problem solving. It's human-centered and user-centered, and it brings people from all different backgrounds together. It's sort of a nonlinear, iterative process. We're teaching our first 3-credit course in it this semester, and I was looking around for some photographs of what really shows design thinking in process, and I hope that Greg and Jim are giggling a little bit over there, because right here, if you walk in the front door of the Campana Center, there's this big installation, which we have been calling the wall. And the idea around that wall was that it was going to tell the story of the Campana Center for Ideation and Invention. And calls from artists and installations were put out there, and things were coming in, and everyone would look at them, and then it was, yeah, that's not quite right. That's not quite right. And then all of the people involved got together and said, why don't we do this ourselves? So Jim, I think, took the lead on kind of the design of this. People were involved from marketing, from video. I know that Greg worked on some of this, and there were students involved. Pieces of this were made in the Fab Lab. It was really the idea of all of the disciplines coming together, sketching it out, creating the content, designing the wall, and it really shows in many ways exactly what is at the essence of the Campana Center and at the essence of design thinking, which is really bringing lots and lots of different people together from different backgrounds and different ways of looking at things, and getting their expertise to play together and make something that hasn't been made before. So I was really excited when I was kind of trying to figure out what to put there, and that piece popped up. Both Greg and Jim are incredible, I guess, examples of a person and an artist coming from one background and sort of growing in technology and getting excited about it and utilizing it. As I mentioned before, Greg started out as a painter, then began working in computer art, and he can tell you a little bit more about what he's done. I knew Jim first when he was a graphic designer, and then he's quite the maker, and he came in and worked with me initially in some of our youth programs. And then we started expanding some of our marketing efforts at the college, and he got scooped up because of some of the amazing things that he's been doing. And I think that those really tell to you the story, all of you, the story of the Campana Center and how you can get involved. So at this point, I think I'm going to turn it over to Jim, since this wall is here, and I think he has kind of a very fast-paced slide presentation to show you about all of the projects that he's been working on, and he can tell you a little bit more about that. And then the really exciting thing about, a community college having a VR cave and someone with the vast background and capabilities of Greg Little to sort of integrate that into all of the things we're doing, I think is pretty exciting for all of you. And I hope that with the taste of all of this, and we'll have some questions and answers at the end, that you will get a sense of what we're about there and what we do with Makering and at the Campana Center, and come out and join us. So thanks a whole lot for listening to me, and why don't you hit it?
As John said, in the Campana Center, we have some facilities for virtual and augmented reality. And I got kind of tired of just saying virtual and augmented reality. It's so long. So I started using Microsoft's term, which is mixed reality. And I just wanted to show you this. So mixed reality is so we have on one end of the continuum here, obviously, the real world or the so-called real world from The Office. So I think you get the idea, mixed versus augmented reality. As Joan said, we work across basically 3 different areas. I present and develop and collaborate with the 3 different sort of clusters that the community college serves. So our professors come to me with ideas or things that they need in their teaching. We do some collaboration with members of the community, and we're working on doing more. And also, that's both in manufacturing and in the public schools. And then I also, with my students, teach them to develop content for virtual reality. So kind of all 3 pieces of that are what we do. In terms of equipment, we have head-mounted displays. So these are the head-mounted displays that we have, ranging from the Google Cardboard to the new Oculus Quest. And I integrate these into my existing classes. Here's a class, my Intro to Digital Imaging class, preparing images that are stereographic, one for the right eye, one for the left eye, that can be viewed through the Google Cardboard. And we also, since I'm in arts and humanities and have training as a painter, we made a great deal of use of the Google Tilt Brush application, which works with the head-mounted display and allows you to paint and draw in 3D space. And it's a pretty rich program, a lot of colors and special effects and brush strokes and things like that. We right before COVID, we did a collaboration with, I did a collaboration with Oberlin College, a choreography class at Oberlin College. So the students danced and created choreography while wearing the head-mounted displays and kind of painting in Tilt Brush. So they would kind of paint environments and then step through them, walk through them, and respond to them. And this was a long project that we spun off. Pieces of video from the project went to one of our drawing classes, and they did a series of gesture drawings from the dancers. The Tilt Brush drawings and video was processed by students in my digital imaging class to create these still images. And we still just the other day, we had students from Lorain High playing with Tilt Brush and investigating some different virtual worlds. So we have stuff with that and more all the time. We also have the Z-Space desktop and laptop, which is it's a pair of passive polarizing glasses, like the kind that you would wear to a 3D movie, and a wand and a sort of proprietary screen. Really, it's about their screen technology that allows coupled with the polarizing glasses and the polarizing filters in the screens, that allows images to pop out from the screen and become 3-dimensional. And we've been interested in using these probably in tutoring and other things. This is a life drawing class coming to look at some anatomy demos. And then we've also had some students from biology come in and look at some cells and different things like that. So we have a bunch of tutorial apps on the Z-Space machines. We've also been playing with augmented reality a bit. using mainly Adobe Aero, which is a beta version of a software that allows you to turn Photoshop files into augmented realities fairly quickly. And we're soon to get a Hololens, the Microsoft Hololens, which you can see through the lens into the real world, and virtual images are projected on the screens. Case is doing a tremendous amount of work with these. This is a still from an art exhibition I did back in September, October, and I had an AR component. These funny little creatures were augmented into the room during the opening. My intro students have built some tiny little vignettes of organic shapes and things like that into these augmented worlds using Adobe Aero. And then last but not least, we have a virtual reality cave, which is a 4-screen stereographic projection system with 3D tracking, like motion capture kind of tracking going on. These are some specs for the cave that we have. And then here are some images. This is an airplane on a runway that you can experience right up close. And we shared this application with NASA as a demo for industry to show what's possible and what we can do. This is a virtual museum where recently some life drawing students came to draw from these ancient artifacts. So these are all 3-dimensional scans of actual art objects brought together in this virtual museum. We have a Lamborghini, and these are some high school students fulfilling their fantasies and driving a Lamborghini. This is a world of a bacteria, a cell of bacteria that can be disassembled in different pieces and parts removed to kind of study and rotate. And then these are some of the images from the last step of the dance collaboration with Oberlin College, where we brought all of the tilt brush models that the students created and brought them into virtual reality, and so they could actually kind of be inside of them. And having dancers in a cave is really fun. So they had a great time, I think. And then I have recently done with my 3D modeling class from last semester, I had them prepare images for the cave in virtual reality. We haven't quite got it in there yet. It's kind of in beta stage, but this is a desktop version. So this is created by my students in 3D modeling. So they designed the models as they designed the characters on character sheets. They were all, hand drawn in some cases or drawn with Photoshop and things like that. And then they built the models, and then they built the environments. And so this is kind of a collaborative thing. And we hooked the models up to this motion capture data that's available through Adobe Mixamo to create the moves. So that's a fun project. So that's kind of what we do. The range of things that we're working on. I kind of see my role as one to bring examples of the technology to different groups of people, to expose people to it, and to try to make it as accessible to them as possible. So it's a bit of development, it's a bit of demonstration, and it's a bit of teaching. All three of those things are what we try to work with. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
I'm the creative director in the marketing department, and my day-to-day life there consists of billboards and ads and brochures and view books and a lot of silly projects. But a couple years ago, we kind of embraced the idea of using augmented reality on a number of projects, and we currently apply augmented reality to postcards and some placemats for events and posters, and a lot of things that we just want to add a little extra something to. a lot of what we add to it is, so if we create a commercial and then send out a postcard, we'll attach our commercial to that postcard. So what appears to happen is the individual will get the postcard and you lay it on the table, you scan the code, and it looks like your postcard has now turned into a monitor, which is really easy for us to do, and it's kind of cool to look at. The other thing with the augmented reality is we can track everything. So when we send out 10,000 postcards, we can track who actually viewed that postcard and whether or not they went all the way back to the website or not.
Do you want me to move the slides for you, Jim, or are you still on the first slide?
Hold on just for 1 second.
Okay.
So along with all those other projects, and we do about 400 a year, so we are very, very busy there. We also get to do some fun stuff. And these next 3 projects, one of them, this first one, does not use augmented reality, but the second one and the third one do. But I really wanted to show you the first one because it kind of tees up this whole idea of doing these types of installations at the school. And then we kind of expanded on it the second year. So this was in the spring of 2020, when the pandemic was just getting started, and we had to cancel our commencement. Commencement and graduation is very, very important at the college, and we kind of go all out. So canceling the in-person commencement was kind of a big deal, and we wanted to do something for the graduates that they could still come and kind of spread out, and then it was outside. So if you advance the screen, I'll just say click.
Okay.
Because we're going to have to move fast here now. So what we ended up creating was a large, very large grad cap. And this whole thing had meaning. So this grad cap is actually made up of 47,000 marking flags. And then each one of those squares that you see out there represent a commencement graduation, so a commencement year. So I think there are, I forget how many commencements at this, there may have been 56 commencements. And then that yellow square at the end of the grad cap or the tassel represented the class of 2020. You can go up a screen. So this is kind of an overhead view of the site plan, and you can kind of see the grad cap there. And each one of those squares also had a solar light, which kind of represented knowledge. We tried to get meaning into everything, and we try and get meaning into all the other projects we do kind of as we move forward too. So you can go forward. So the way I approach these projects, I usually start off with just some simple, pencil and paper, kind of work out all the ideas, all the rationale, all the meaning for everything. If we have 47,000 students, how do we represent them? The other side note to this project is we had very little money. At the time, we had not done these types of projects before, so we weren't, I don't think the VPs were quite sure how this was going to work out. So we didn't have a lot of money, and marking flags were relatively cheap, and you got a lot of bang for your buck. So once I get through the pencil stage, I bring it into a program called SketchUp, and SketchUp helps me define kind of the entire space very accurately. It's a 1-to-1 kind of ratio. So what SketchUp's drawing is kind of real life. You can go up a screen. The next part of this project was to actually mark this thing out on the field. It was huge. And we approached this kind of old school. So we had tape measures and lines and big long and wheels. I don't think I would do it again this way. I'd probably go out there and GPS mark everything. But we were surprised at how accurate we ended up being. We used some old school methods. If you're familiar with the 3-4-5 method of getting the right angle, we used it in a big way and got the right angles. You go up a screen. After we were able to mark all the squares of the corners, you can see that those little white marks out in the field there, we had to define the outside of the square. So I had made up these ropes that had a 1 foot marking on them. You can barely see it there. That was strung between the stakes and created the square. And then on each one of those marks, we put a marking flag that ended up being 1 foot apart. You can go up one screen. Here's somebody just kind of placing those flags on that individual little mark. You go up another screen. Once we define the screen, there you are, Joan. Once we defined the screen or the square, we were using these white PVC poles, which you can see laying on the ground, and then we had pieces of tape on those so that we could actually stick the individual flag into the ground, and then have them kind of perfectly lined up as 1 foot apart. And then the individual just picked up the entire pole and kind of moved up 1 foot or one row of flags, and then did the same thing. So if you go up one more screen, you can see that everything is perfectly lined up. All the rows are lined up. And in something this big, when you were standing in the rows and the aisles, everything really needed to line up, because if it was out of whack, you'd know it. So this was kind of the end result of this. And if you go up one more screen, the day we had finished this, my good friend Ron Yantz, who's the photographer there, and he actually does many, many other things. But him and I went out there just to see how these lights were going to look, and actually what this was going to do. So we stood out in the cold until it got really, really dark, and we were kind of amazed at what happened. So this is one of the shots that we took that night, and you can see the lights. And if you go up one more, you can see how amazing it really was when we were standing back. We did not expect this at all from marking flags and some simple solar lights. You can go up another screen. Ron was kind of committed to this whole project. He would go out there if he sensed anything was going to go on with the weather. He ran out there, I think, the day that this big storm was coming, and got these shots of these clouds and the sun. We actually used this shot on the cover of Opportunity Magazine, which is our college magazine, which we also do at the marketing department. We go up a screen. So a couple more shots. You can go up another screen. Ron also got the double rainbow on that same day, which was a very cool shot. You go up another screen. So more shots from Ron. But the cool thing about this thing is it was up for about a month, and throughout the whole process, people would come periodically, and you'd see them kind of wandering down these little roadways and kind of hanging out there. And one of the things I got to mention was, if the wind was blowing and you were out there with 47,000 flags, the sound of this was amazing. I mean, it was like nothing you really ever heard before. You go up another screen. I think there's a couple more shots. This is one more shot from Ron here. One more. So we also had signs everywhere, kind of defining what the project was, and then some facts about the rationale for things. I mean, that one on the left, 47,000 flags, degrees since 1964, and then kind of left and right of that. You go up another one. We had signs that listed every single graduate. So when your graduates came, they could find their name, and a lot of them took their picture with it. We also had a lot of proud points, those little blue squares on the corner, with individual facts about the class of 2020. Again, you see the logo in there. Everything was branded. Everything had to look. We tried to keep it consistent. Next one. Again, lots of people coming. They would come with their diplomas. They would take their picture with the signs and the flags behind them, which really meant a lot to them because they weren't there for the commencement itself. You can go to the next one. And this is one more shot from Ron here. And then we'll move to the next one. And then in 2021, we actually were able to get somewhat together. We had kind of a blended commencement. But we still wanted to do something kind of in the yard. It was a tradition now. So this year, if you go one more, we did what we call the Doors of Opportunity. This was 21 doors. These were 4 foot by 8 foot doors, spaced out about 16 feet apart. You can go up one more. This is a nighttime shot. You can see them all stretched out there. That island that's in the middle of the parking lot there is about 450 feet long. So this was a very long display. And we kind of nicknamed that island Commencement Island after we had done all this. But one of the reasons for putting it out there was accessibility. part of the problem with the flags was that people with disabilities and older individuals had a hard time getting out there and navigating all the roads and pathways. So this, you could actually view the entire thing by just driving around the entire thing with your car, or get up very close and see a couple of them. So the accessibility was, just, perfect. You can go to the next one. Like the other one, I started this one in SketchUp. Actually, I built a little paper model of this one first. That I had mounted on some foam core. I took my phone and kind of did a little fly through with my phone and sent that to a couple of people in the college just to get them excited. From that, I created the entire thing in SketchUp. You can go to the next one. And this, I kick out a lot of views from SketchUp, and then I put together a whole presentation book that allows me to get approval from all the VPs. And it also allows us to send it to the city for their evaluation and see if we need a permit, stuff like that. But again, it's a one-to-one scale. So we're using this for measurements. We're using this it's kind of the Bible. You can go down that one. I wanted to see what it looked like at night. So I did nighttime renderings. One more. We were able to, do all the details on the doors themselves. So the door jambs are actually made out of a 2x6 material. The door frames are plywood construction. And then there's a full sheet of 4x8 printed coroplast that's kind of sandwiched in between. We have door handles on both sides as well. You can go to the next one. These are some shots of kind of the building of this thing. Here's the day that all the frames actually arrived. And we had actually brought these all up to one of the larger rooms in the Campana Center where we were staging everything. You can go to the next one. After it was in the room, a couple of us, 2, 3, 4 of us, it seemed like days we spent painting all this stuff. So every night after work, we would go there and spend like 2 hours painting all this stuff. Everything needed 2 coats. So it was fun for about the first 2. And then, when you got into about 20 of something, you don't think 21 is a lot until you have to paint it twice, You go to the next one. This was some shots of the install day. You can see, we had everything staged in the grass out there. Security actually came out and put some cones for us to keep people out of there. All the doors were mounted with just some standard frame or some standard hinges because we had them actually staked into the ground as well, and then staked the door jambs too. That big 1/4-inch cable actually crisscrossed back and forth to kind of, there's 2 of them that held everything in place too. You can go to the next one. Everything needed to be perfect. So we spent a lot of time leveling, straightening. I mean, when you look down the line, all the doors had to be exactly the same, or again, you would know that they were out of the whack. So we spent a lot of time making sure that was correct. You can go to the next one. Here's some pictures of Steve digging a hole for that final stake in the back. You can go to the next one. We like to kind of get everybody involved, and facilities there is a big part of these types of projects too. So when we needed some posts stuck in the ground for the signs, they brought out their front loader and just kind of pushed them right in for us, which was awesome. You can go to the next one. And this is some couple of shots of the one side of the doors, which was very colorful. And then the next slide, I believe, is the other side of the doors with all the individual words. All of these words on the back side relate to the student that is featured on the other side. And if you go to, I think, the next screen, we'll get into that in a second. All right, so this is where the augmented reality comes in. Each one of these doors had its own augmented reality experience. So you took your phone and you could either, kind of upload get the app Zappar on your phone, or you could actually do this through a web AR kind of thing through Zappar. So we actually had a yellow circle painted on the ground in front of each one of those doors that gave you a target area to stand. You took your phone and simply, if you can see that little picture there, you kind of centered it in the door and the door would come to life. If you can see that little person in front of the door on the sign, you get a sense of really what happened. So what would happen is the door would come to life. The student would kind of walk out from the side and kind of tell their story. A lot of them were really fun. We had, jugglers that would come out from the side. We had a construction worker who actually busted down the door. We had a guy who, in fact, I think he's, if you go another slide here, we'll go through some of these. This was one of the jugglers. She actually came in from the side and was doing some juggling while she was telling her story. These whole experiences only lasted about 30 seconds, and then you were out, and then you could move to the next door and watch another one. Aiden Bundy here, he actually dresses up as Spider-Man and goes to local hospitals. So we had him dressed up in his Spider-Man outfit, and we actually had him appear as though he was dropping down from the top like Spider-Man, and then came into the door and told his little story, and then was actually raised his hand and shot his web into the ceiling and kind of zipped himself out, and then the door shut. So every door was kind of this own experience, and we spent a lot of time, filming all this stuff. It was all green screened. We had lots of people working on this to kind of pull off all these bits of augmented reality on all these doors. You can go to the next one. She was awesome. So we had, so for her, she brought in a hula hoop that I think she may have been actually swinging. And then she brought it up over her head, and kind of like a TikTok experience. When it was over her head, she dropped it and changed from her, as the hula hoop came down, it revealed her her hat, her gown, everything that she was in. And then she did this little peace sign thing that she's doing right now, which was an awesome experience. You can go to the next one. This is kind of one final shot of the doors. The other thing about the augmented reality is we were able to track all of this stuff. In fact, all of our augmented reality we can track. So as creepy as this sounds, we can tell what kind of phone you're using, how long you're on. And it really helps us, decide on the next time, what we're going to do the next time. So in this case, we found out that, if we didn't really entertain them with a specific video, they were out. Even though they spent a fair amount of time to actually launch the augmented reality experience, if they weren't entertained, they would bail and move to the next one. So, lesson learned, you really got to engage them right out of the gate. So we try and do that on everything now, and we try and keep them really, really short. So now we're down to 15, 20 seconds on our experiences. You can go to the next one. So the next one that uses augmented reality was an installation we did at 9/11. So I can't remember what day 9/11 was. I think it was on a Friday. But on Wednesday morning, we had nothing planned. And, of course, we get the call, like we always get the call in the marketing department, that we should do something, which is, sets everybody, just reeling. So the first thing we did Wednesday morning is we had this meeting to kind of decide what this was going to be. And literally an hour later, we were off and running. And if you flip to the next screen. So what we're going to do is, since we were good at flags, we were going to get that going again. And the whole idea here was to create a giant star with these three little lights in the middle. And actually, this thing had lights too. And we were going to put a large piece of augmented reality right in the middle of that star. So Wednesday morning, we are literally, on the phone, on the internet, ordering the flags that we need for the next morning, which is Thursday. By that afternoon, if you go to one more, Back up one there. The one with the star. So as soon as I got out of the meeting, we knew that we wanted to do this star. So I knew about the size of the thing. So I just drew this star on my computer, which gave me the way to put the points out there to create an accurate star. So I used this and a tape measure, and some stakes to figure out exactly how that star was going to look out there. And if you go to the next one, I think. So we went over to the field house and we borrowed their line marker and we used it to kind of mark out the edge of that star. And if you go one more, I'm actually going to show you the star here. And actually it was pretty accurate when we were all said and done. We got the circle, we got the star. And this was Wednesday night at about 7:00. Again, we started this at about 9:00 in the morning. So Wednesday at 7:00, we are at this point. And then we go to the next day. So the next day, the flags arrive in overnight. So we call out all the volunteers, and we're going to build this one pretty much the same way we did the squares. So we still had the leftover poles with the marks on there. So it was the exact same thing. We marked out the outside. They took those poles and were able to kind of fill that thing in with pretty accurately with things every space, every foot on every center. So you can go to the next one. Go to Friday morning, which we actually had the event. And here's a couple of photos of the event. There were other people planning too. If you go one more, here's an overall shot of the event. So that flag in the background, we actually had somebody drive to Cleveland. I think it was maybe Thursday morning to pick that flag up. Facilities was putting it up in the afternoon. And there are some massive lights that we got one of our suppliers that we used for commencement to come out and put up. So that flag was a beacon at night for about 4 or 5 days. You can go one more. There were other event planners who, again, all in one day, they had somehow able to get bagpipers and speakers. If you go one more, I think we had 2 or 3 speakers. We had a choir. We had, I think there was some music playing. Hats off to all the people who planned this thing, beyond what we did. If you go another one. So for the augmented reality part of this, we had some signs out there that kind of gave you directions. And it was similar to the other signs. So you were able to, again, either do this through WebAR or actually download the app. And I think we can actually tell that too from the analytics. But so they were able to do that. And if you could scan one more, I'm going to show you how this was actually done. So what shows up on your phone is when you scan it and it comes up, is this little hand with this little plane. And you were instructed to point it towards those 3 lights in the middle, which represented the 3 crash sites. And then if you go one more, you were able to click it, and then it placed the Twin Towers, which were kind of ghosted back. I think you can go one more and see a better view of it. They were kind of ghosted back, and they were actually kind of twirling in the middle of that circle. So it was actually pretty cool when you saw it on your phone. And I think if you go one more, here's kind of a screenshot that somebody took standing back, as those things kind of spun around in the middle. Looking back at this thing, I think over that weekend when we took it down, I think Monday or Tuesday, but on that Saturday and that Friday, I think we had 600 people come and do this, which was over the top successful in our book. So if you go to the next one. So we're not done yet. This is this year's project. It's called Soar, and I can't really tell you anything about it, but I can tell you it's going to, the big unveiling of this thing is going to be May 11th at a big event. and it will actually be up all summer long until I think the first couple of weeks in November. So we're going to change this thing periodically through the summer. It will have augmented reality parts to it. There's sound, there's movement. This one is, we took the other idea and kind of just amped it way up. So the doors weren't enough. This blows the doors out of the water. So, and that's what I have.
Yay. All right. So why don't we open up to questions? And I think we might as well just let people, like, as long as we don't have too many people fighting over the microphone, just go ahead and start asking. I guess I can start with the question is, I guess this is really for Greg. Like, what kind of classes, like, can we sign up for? Are they in person, remote? Do you actually have like a degree program?
No, we do not have a degree program yet. We have a certificate program in digital animation, and what I've been doing is incorporating pieces and parts of the development into my existing classes. What I'd like to do ultimately would of course to make an associate's degree or at least a certificate. I'm developing 2 courses that are specifically in virtual reality now, but it takes a while to get these things approved, and especially a certificate or an associate's degree. But we're working on it. It's difficult work, and I find that 1 or 2 years, like someone who's completing their sophomore year, it's limited what they can do in virtual reality unless they just kind of borrow everything. But even then, there's a lot of coding involved at times. So it's difficult work. I put it that way. So that's why I've been incorporating it into classes, just to sort of test to see what people are capable of and what they're interested in.
What do you find people are most interested in? What's like most popular?
Gaming, of course. Yeah, anything that has the known characters. They have a whole culture of gaming that they all share that I don't with them, and but that's what they're most interested in. Sure. Yeah.
All right. So more people ask questions. I have a million. I don't want to monopolize everything.
Do you do camps for teenagers, and how long are the for adults courses? Are they a semester? Are they how many months are they?
We do camps, STEAM camps. I've worked with 7th graders on up through 12th graders, usually during the summer. So they're 1 or 2 week camps. John would know more about the programming stuff. I don't do a lot of the programming. We also, the courses during the semester are, they're regular 15, 16 week courses. So they're a commitment. They meet twice a week for 6 hours, or 3 hours for each session.
Remote or in person?
A little bit of both. I mean, you need the in-person part because not everyone has a cave in their house, or even a head-mounted display or a computer for that matter. So we need the in-person piece for the technology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, I thought your projects were really amazing. And I'm trying to think how that would, like, those were sort of like you're the marketing department. I'm trying to think how that would, what kind of projects or things using AR would work for like freelance graphic designers, or did you outsource any of this? Did you do it all yourself?
No, we do it all ourselves. So we kind of educated ourselves on it. Adam Muska, who does a lot of the videos, is really jumped in as well. So him and I worked together creating the images or the assets for all the augmented reality. We just kind of jumped in and worked it out.
Here's one that's in the chat. I guess Michael Quinn is shy, or else he's not here still. Did you get media coverage of these displays?
Yes. Yeah, we try and promote them. We try and get them out to the world. So yes. I think when we first the first day of the doors, again, we were able to track. We can't track how many people actually showed up, but we can track how many people actually use the augmented reality part of it. And I think on the first day, there were about 800 people actually using the augmented reality portion of it.
Judy said if you use the Zapper app on your phone and take a picture of the screen, it works.
Yes, it does.
So I guess you'll have to watch the YouTube if you want to do that once it gets posted in a week.
So that's actually one thing we found out. So when people do, it is out in the world. My brother in Boston, it actually showed up on some feed somewhere. It was just a photo of one of the doors. Mm-hmm. And my brother in Boston was able to take his phone and scan the screen, and the augmented reality portion of it kind of popped right through the screen. So, yeah.
Very cool.
I'm trying to see if there's any more questions.
Maybe you could put one of those back up, Spike, and we could try it.
Yeah, go ahead. Put it back up, Spike. That's what I did.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
So is it still active?
Put the slide back up.
Yeah.
Which one would be good?
Is there an orientation class that you can take to use the equipment, or do you have to take a class in order to use the equipment?
Augmented reality?
I'm worried about the laser cutter and stuff. I mean, you're cutting metal and stuff. I'm like, what do you have to do to use that equipment?
Well, you have to come into the Fab Lab, and they will instruct you on using the equipment and kind of hold your hand to make sure that nothing explodes. Yeah,
it's just on fire.
Yeah, well, that happens.
You don't have to take a class. You don't have to take a formal class. You could just go in there, and they could help you set up something.
Yes, that is the charge of the Fab Lab. The Fab Lab is to be free and open to the public.
Okay. And what about materials and stuff?
They have some things, leftover pieces of this and that. But if you wanted to test something, I'm sure they could provide you with materials. But if you had a bigger project in mind, you'd have to bring your own stuff. You'd want to bring your own stuff, And
they could supply a list of what's, they could use.
Yeah. I can tell you what to burn and what not to burn. Yeah.
Sounds interesting. I may want to try that.
Don't use PVC in a laser cutter. That's the one.
No, but sometimes they need metal cutting, just to do a custom metal piece cut.
Yeah, the lasers don't really cut metal, I don't think. I know that
the leaf thing there, and it looked like aluminum.
Yeah, could have been. Maybe like
some thin sheets of aluminum, probably.
Like a metal leaf, possibly. But I mean, we have what is it called? A water jet. This crazy machine that will cut 5/8 inch titanium and stuff like that. Yeah, we do have one of those. That's not part of the Fab Lab. You'd need more appointments probably for that.
Yeah,
one. But
it's a little more complex. That's probably CAD stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what events do you have coming up? I know like Jim's got the Soar event, but do you have any workshops or any other things that would be, if people wanted to come out and learn about the facility, what's the best way to do that?
Oh boy, I think I apologize. I think you'd have to contact Joan. I just respond to. I don't organize the stuff. I'm not good at that. I just build things. But yeah, there are things coming up. I'm just not sure how to get you in touch. You'd have to ask Joan that one.
So
okay, she's not.
So Spike, there are. If you go on the website and go to the Fab Lab, it'll give the open Fab Lab hours, and you can just go and visit and talk to Chris or Ryan, and tell them your story and tell them what you want to do, and they'll show you around, and kind of tell you what you can do.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there,
Now that you mention it, I think there is a way. I know that you can call certain numbers and set up tours too of the Campana Center, where we'll bring you through and just show you everything, all the 3D printers, the Fab Lab, the manufacturing robotics.
So if you go up to, are you under Fab Lab there? Is that?
I'm on the Fab Lab. That's where I'm right there.
So down, if you scroll down, see if they give the hours anywhere. Fab Lab hours. So, so these are the hours. So if you go, the door will be open and you can go in and kind of talk to Chris or Ryan or one of the other techs there. And you might even be able to do something before you leave.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And as I'm seeing on this page, we do have a personal fabrication class that's a 1 credit, 10-hour class. So there's also that.
That's great. Yeah, because I wanted to do like the virtual thing because I figured it's hard to get people to go out there on an evening, but at least now people know about it and decide what they want to do.
Sure, absolutely. It's a great place. It's a great environment.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'd like to thank our speakers for presenting. That was wonderful. I appreciate your giving up your evening, and that was a fascinating presentation. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having us. It's been great.
Really enjoyed it.
Cool. Come visit.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
Okay. So I guess I can do breakout rooms, or we can just sort of hang out till I'll wait a while if people want to talk some more, but if you want to head on to your rest of your evening, go ahead, and thank you very much. That was great.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys.
Bye.
Yeah, I gotta run. So I'll see you guys. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.